Welcome to Laurel and Hardy, a tribute to the boys, hosted by me, Dom Deluise, with Steve Allen, Johnny Carson, Professor Irwin Corey, Blake Edwards, Robert Klein, Rich Little, Chuck McCann, Walter Matthau, Dick Martin, Bronson Pinchot, the Smothers Brothers, Henny Youngman, and lots of laughs. Laurel and Hardy, a tribute to the boys. Laurel and Hardy. Just say their names, you see their faces, and smile. If you've seen their movies, and who hasn't, you start to laugh just thinking about them. Even when people can't remember which is Stan and which is Ollie, they remember going to a Laurel and Hardy movie and laugh until their sides hurt. Laurel and Hardy films have circled the globe. In Italy, they're known as Crick and Crock. In Sweden, they're known as Helen and Helfen. In Turkey, they're known as Sisman Vasahif. Fat and Skinny have probably brought more laughter to the world than any other comedians. And now let's have a look at some of the best of Laurel and Hardy.
It's great to have a good job to go to. It just makes the whole world bright. Why, even you look bright this morning. Sorry, I don't smoke. Why don't you look where you're going?
So they had this wonderful combination of course, physical appearance, the opposites. Personalities were different, but I think what made them successful was that you sensed that there was a genuine fondness with all of the mayhem going on. At the end, they became friends.
Drop this. Thank you.
Dumb humor, so long as it's done in kind of a clever way, still works. Still works. So Laurel and Hardy really, to me, are as funny and fresh today as they were back then.
No, I've always enjoyed Laurel and Hardy. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm stupid.
Heave! Oh! Heave! Oh! Heave! Oh! Heave! Oh! Heave!
Laurel and Hardy's humor is as close to fully timeless as that of any comedian in history, ancient or modern. Some things, again, are only funny this week and not so much 2 weeks later. Their humor is always funny.
Stop that crying! Now, this is your last chance. If you don't tell us where that ring is, over you go.
We can't tell you. We're trying to learn this.
How can we tell you if we don't remember? Maybe this will help you remember. No!
I think that they are really a part of us, a real strong, sincere part of us.
What'd you say?
Now don't drop till I get the mattress underneath you. Well, hurry up. I can't hold on much longer. Won't be a minute. Get off! Excuse me. I was just coming.
So they were a natural team. No wonder they were successful. They were born to each other.
In the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, on the trail of the lonesome pine.
In the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, on the trail of the lonesome pine. In the pale moonshine, our hearts entwine, where she carved her name and I carved mine. Oh, June, like the mountains I'm blue, like the pine, I am lonesome for you.
In the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, on the trail of the lonesome pine.
These guys were incredible. They seemed to bring off everything so easily. And believe me, their kind of comedy is very hard to do. Laurel and Hardy worked so magically together as a team because they were both excellent comics, and they really complemented each other. They both brought years of experience and their own particular skill to the partnership. Okay, who were these guys anyway? Let's start with Stan. The one who's always scratching his head and cries like a baby.
The house burned down and I couldn't help it. I didn't like.
The one who does those whimsical little bits of make-believe, which he called white magic. Stan's the one who seems to be the dumber of the two.
Where were you born?
I don't know.
Fancy not knowing where you were born.
Well, I was too young to remember. How do I know where I was born?
Arthur Stanley Jefferson was born into a theatrical family in Ulverston, England. His mother was an actress. His father wrote and produced shows and ran a theater. According to Stan, the spirit of the theater was in him from the beginning.
He was gentle. He was the inventor of the two. Historically, I think most comedians know that he was the one who sat down and invented all the jokes and was the silly one. I would call Stan Laurel kind of the illogical, logical one.
The raw physical humor and wacky violence Stan put on the screen goes back to what he learned as a boy on the music hall stages in England.
Let me tell you something. Get out of there. No, I won't. You come on.
A lot of people don't realize that Charlie Chaplin and Stan Laurel were very good friends in England. And they came over together with Fred Carno in a show called A Night in an English Music Hall. And Stan was understudying Charlie in that show. They roomed together in a little hotel called the Red Apple down on 14th Street, I believe it was, in New York, as Stan said. And he said, the first night we were there, he said, the custom in England is to take your shoes and put them outside the door. And then the next night they polish them for you during the night, and in the morning you got nice fresh shoes. He said, I didn't know that the custom in this country was you put your shoes outside the door and they steal them on you. Anyway, so he worked that whole week in bedroom slippers.
In America, Arthur Stanley Jefferson changed his name to Stan Laurel. He wound up in Los Angeles, the film capital of the world. Film producer Hal Roach saw Stan on the vaudeville stage and signed him on the spot. In one early film, Lucky Dog, Stan played a scene with an actor whose name was Babe Hardy. But it would be 9 years before Stan and Babe got together again as Laurel and Hardy. Stan made dozens of films as an actor and worked as a writer and a gag man for Roach. He learned how to make movies, but he was never able to create a comic character funny enough to make him a star on his own. In order to achieve movie greatness, he needed a partner. The right partner for Stan Laurel was Oliver Hardy. Ollie preferred to be called Oliver Norville Hardy. He thought there was something very impressive about a three-barreled name, and Ollie was definitely impressive. You know Ollie, the fat one with the dainty gestures. The tie twiddle, the tip of the hat, and that look of total exasperation.
He knew how to use the camera. You knew exactly what he felt like. So I think I stole along the way reaction times. When somebody would say something silly, he could show frustration, anger, complete befuddlement just by looking at the camera, letting you know how he felt, and went on.
He thinks he's the smart one, but we know better.
$3 million. Is that as much as 1,000?
Why, man alive, it's twice as much. If I can convince them that you're the heir, we'll be living in luxury the rest of our lives. Now, you just leave everything to me. Come on.
Above all, Ollie was a gentleman, on screen and off, whose gracious behavior was reminiscent of Southern hospitality.
Are you from the South?
I sure am.
Well, fan my brow. I'm from the South.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
Well, shut my mouth. I's from the South, too.
South of what, sir?
The South of London.
London. Well, honey, we'll all go down to Dixie. Oh, for a slice of possum and yam.
Ooh, Yes, sir, and some good old fish and chips. I can smell them.
Fish and chips.
We're going to go, we're going to go, we're going to go way down in Dixie.
Oliver Norval Hardy was a true Southern boy. He was born and raised in Harlem, Georgia. The Hardy family enjoyed singing together, and 8-year-old Oliver was such a good singer he took lessons and sang professionally in a minstrel show.
Lazy moon, why don't you show your face upon the hill?
Ollie loved to sing, and in several Laurel and Hardy films, he burst into song with his fine tenor voice.
You can make me happy if you will.
During World War I, Ollie tried to enlist, but the Army rejected him because he was overweight.
When he says turn to the right, go that way. Follow me.
Squad's left! March!
Instead of going to fight in the war, he went to Hollywood. The Army's loss is our gain.
Hardy was the one that absolutely broke me up, and he was the one that I couldn't take my eyes off of because Hardy was always doing little bits of business. And you could say he was upstaging Stan in many ways because you look towards Hardy because Hardy would always do little things like.
Ollie modeled his screen character on a cartoon personality he had seen in a Georgia newspaper, Helpful Henry. Ollie described him as big and fussy and self-important, but underneath it all, he was a very nice guy. Helpful Henry, a guy who tried to be helpful, but always messed things up.
For his size, certainly Oliver Hardy has to be considered a physical genius. He was tremendously graceful.
Commence to dancing, commence to prancing, commence to dancing, commence to dancing, slide like prancing, you do the tango jiggle, the dances calling, hold the order and holy, sliding forward, holding forward, just put your shoulders and your fingers rolling all in the hall, let the ball and
Oliver Norval Hardy, known to his friends as Babe, became a seasoned movie actor who knew exactly how to play the camera. He was on the brink of stardom. All he needed was the right partner. So here you have two guys who have no idea that they were about to become the greatest comedy team in the world. Ollie was only a contract player at the Hal Roach Studios. Stan worked there too as a gag man and a writer. At 36, Stan Laurel was convinced that he was washed up as a performer. As fate would have it, Stan and Ollie happened to be in the right place at the right time, and the Hal Roach Studios was definitely the right place. Action! The Hal Roach Studio lot was known as the Lot of Fun because they made film comedies and had a lot of fun.
The shot's far enough. Oh, you! Hey!
Roach created a friendly atmosphere where everyone was encouraged to be creative.
Come on, let's get out of here.
Anyone could suggest gags and stories, and they did.
Oh!
It was a totally wacky place, seriously devoted to making people laugh. Hal Roach was always putting different comics together in order to find just the right combination. One day, Roach was inspired. He put Stan Laurel together with Babe Hardy, and he created Laurel and Hardy. In a series of hilarious silent films, the new team quickly reached the top. Thousands of letters poured in asking to see more of the fat and skinny guys. And Hal Roach gave it to them.
I think one of the charms about Laurel and Hardy to me was that they were adults and they were getting into trouble too. They were creating chaos, and it was okay. Look at the fun, you know, because kids are always tipping something over, ripping something, breaking something, getting in trouble. And they were two adults. They always got in trouble.
Stan and Ollie were both great performers, but Stan was the creative genius who wrote and staged the gags. He was the real director on the set. Stan made sure that the Laurel and Hardy films followed one of Roach's golden rules of comedy, a constant escalation of goofy mayhem. In this comic demolition derby, everything was fair game. As Roach's #1 team, Laurel and Hardy perfected their timing and their zany physical comedy. Best of all, they easily made the transition into talkies.
Oliver, did I or did I not give you the money to pay on the furniture?
You certainly did.
Then why wasn't it paid?
Well, I gave it to him to pay it for me.
Then what did you do with it?
I gave it back to him.
You gave it to me?
Yeah, I gave it to you to pay my room and board. Then you gave it to her. Remember?
Do you mean to say that the money that he gave to you, that you gave to him, that he gave to me, was the same money that I gave to him to pay him?
Well, if that was the money that you gave to him to give to me to pay to him, it must have been the money that I gave him to give to you to pay my rent, didn't I?
Well, they were naturals. They used to work with each other. They had the perfect timing. And their stance, the way they looked at each other, the way they moved, the way they fed each other lines, and they paid attention. And paying attention is very important when you got two comedians.
Get up from there and put that baby to bed.
What are you trying to do?
Laurel and Hardy were a smash hit. They turned out one funny film after another. They had no idea how popular they had become all over the world.
They would get their fan mail and so forth and so on. He said, but we used to go to England, and when we'd dock, he said, the first time we docked, he said, we saw all these crowds. And I remember him telling me, he said, we thought there was royalty on board. I didn't realize until we started down the gangplank that the crowds had broken through and they were coming up at us. And he said, I was lifted up and I was lifted onto people's shoulders and I was being brought down, and I looked over at Babe and Babe looked at me and he said, we started to cry.
Hal Roach firmly believed that good stories set his films above the usual slapstick comedies. So a Laurel and Hardy film usually began when the boys and a group of writers got together and tossed out some story ideas. Take a typical get-rich-quick scheme.
You know, Ollie, I've been thinking.
What about?
I know how we could make a lot more money.
How?
Well, if we caught our own fish, we wouldn't have to pay for it. Then whoever we sold it to It'll be clear profit.
That's a pretty smart thought. Here we are making pennies when we should be making dollars.
Certainly. All we need is a couple of fish poles.
A couple of fish poles? With $1 million idea like that? What we're going to do is get ourselves a boat.
Of course, any Laurel and Hardy boat needs just a little fixing up. And a new coat of paint. When Ollie's had enough of Stan's help, he sends him below, where he can't cause too much trouble, right? But you know Stan. The story ends when the boys finally manage to get their boat shipshape and get ready to take her down to the dock.
Why don't you put the sail up?
So they put the sails up. You see the sails fill with the wind, and it starts to move. Now, they don't show you what happened. You just hear it. The boat goes in front of them, and they both just stand there, and you hear this horrendous crash. Then they look back into the camera. They did that constantly in their movies, where they set something up, you didn't see it, but they showed you the result.
Did you ever wake up in the morning to an alarm clock you just couldn't turn off, a coffee pot that blew up, or a car that went? When you tried to start it? Well, that's the way life is for the boys all the time. Laurel and Hardy managed somehow to turn every experience of daily life into a funny situation. I mean, these guys seem to be at war with the 20th century. Let's take something easy like ringing a doorbell.
How do you do? We're the gentlemen you're going east with.
Oh, won't you come in?
Oh, thank you. Flowers for you.
Oh.
I'm Mr. Hardy, and...
Inanimate objects baffle them all the time, you know. But in the end result, it all turned out, and they became friends at the end. And as I say, they give as good as they take.
A Laurel and Hardy house was always put together in a mighty strange way.
Can't you make a cup of coffee quietly?
When these boys set out to whip up something in the kitchen, you know you're in for a treat.
Hey, Ollie,
What?
you got a match?
What do you want with it?
I want to light the oven.
Go and sit down. You get on my nerves. I'll light it. Anytime I want something done right, I always have to do it myself.
A good radio needs an antenna, right? When Ollie decides to put one up, Stan lends a hand.
Hook that on binding post A.
Radio go.
I should say not. I'll get that thing working if it's the last thing I do. Come on. Now listen. If you don't be careful, I'm gonna break your neck.
I don't know how they lived through that stuff. I mean, physically, how did they? I mean, poor Hardy, he was the one that seemed to get most of the knocks, more than Stan did. Gosh, I don't know whether they spent a lot of time in the hospital or not.
Doesn't this noise bother you? No, it just goes in this ear and out of the other. Don't bother me a bit.
Haven't you got it fixed yet? No, I haven't got it fixed yet. And furthermore, I'm not gonna fix it. Horns to the right of me. Horns to the left of me. Horns all over me.
Nothing drives the boys crazier than cars.
Go and get the guy to move that truck. Go on.
The guy isn't there.
Well, move it yourself.
opened the door?
No one. It opens automatically.
How do you mean?
Well, you see that plate? Well, you just drive over that, the door opens.
I never saw anything like that before. Do you mind if I try it?
No, go ahead. Just drive straight back now. Now just drive it forward.
As bumbling, as crazy, as much as fate decries that they will never succeed, that these terrible catastrophes will continually happen to them, they proceed ahead.
The boys were bad enough with machines on the ground. Get them in the air, and you're in for a little turbulence. Better fasten your seatbelt. Sometimes the boys find it safer to take a train. But not any easier. Women. For Stan and Ollie, women were a constant source of amazement, befuddlement, and above all, grief. Talk about the battle of the sexes. Nothing ever seemed to work for these guys when it came to women. As usual, things started out smoothly enough. Ollie, the ultimate romantic, would make the first move, and the bashful Romeos would start courting, all aflutter with high hopes and earnest expectations.
My name is Mr. Hardy, and this is my very good friend, Mr. Laurel.
I'm glad to know you. This is my very good friend, Lily.
How do you do, Lily?
How do you do? And my name is Alice.
Alice. My mother's name was Alice.
Your mother's name wasn't Alice.
That was her second name on my father's side.
I love you. I love you. I love you.
What are you getting so mushy about?
Well, I'm glad you asked me. I couldn't keep it from you much longer.
What?
Life's biggest moment. I'm going to be married.
Who is the lucky boy?
There!
Daughter, this is the proudest moment of my life. No! Emphatically no! 1,000 times no! Young lady, you'll remain in this room under lock and key until you come to your senses.
But love conquers all.
Throw me down your suitcase.
When Ollie and his bashful bride elope.
Now, you take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife?
Who, me? Not you. He means me.
Well, he's looking at me.
I do.
You take this man to be your lawful wedded husband?
I do.
I now pronounce you man and wife. Congratulations, my boy. You married the sweetest little girl in all the world. With your permission, I'll kiss the bride.
After the honeymoon,
So you were going to be back in an hour.
the boys settle into domestic life.
Is that the wife?
Yeah.
I thought you said she was...
Oh, she's only clowning. Come on, I want you to meet her. You know, she's the greatest little kidder in the world. Oh, darling. Oh, sugar. I want you to meet my buddy.
Don't sugar me. And how often have I told you not to bring your tramp friends around here?
Oh, but dear, I haven't seen Stan in 20 years.
I couldn't see him in 100 years.
Oh, well, now, dear, this is no time for levity. I've been telling him how wonderful you could cook.
Oh, you have.
Yeah, why don't you fix one of those nice big juicy steaks, you know, and the 7-layer...
Who put that bee in your bonnet?
He did, didn't you?
Well, if you think that I'm going to stand over a hot stove and cook for every knick-knack you bring in here, you're crazy.
Excuse me.
But Toots, Stan is different.
I'll say he's different.
They used to see guys get in arguments with their wives. They saw the funny part of it, and they took it and made a theme. That was the theme for some of their comedies. The wife always took the abuse. And in the end, they took the abuse. And it always worked. It's always funny. It's like a guy says, takes his wife home for dinner, and the guy says, "Is that your wife at the door that let us in?" He said, "Would I hire a maid that ugly?"
Well, we got to be running along. Come on, Stanley. Goodbye, honey.
No, goodbye.
Where do you think you're going?
Well, we're going to the ball game.
You're going to the ball game?
Well, certainly. We businessmen have to relax sometime, don't we, Stanley?
We certainly do.
Well, if you want to relax, you can stay home and wash these dishes.
What do you mean, wash the dishes?
Yeah, what would his friends think?
You keep out of this. You'll stay home. Come on, the dishes.
Well, I'll be seeing you.
Oh, no, you don't.
The boys were always trying to step out on their wives.
I thought you were going to meet me tonight.
I was, but I couldn't find an excuse to get out.
Why don't you send yourself a telegram? Important business.
Great. She's so dumb she'll never know the difference.
Yeah.
Say, where are we going?
I've got a table reserved at the Rainbow Club. It's opening tonight.
Great.
Oh, say, do you know where we can get a bottle?
Yeah. My wife's got one. She's been saving it since probation.
Won't she miss it?
No. I'll blame it on the Iceman.
And while these guys were probably tough to live with, the wives were always a little bit tougher.
we drank your liquor.
What's the joke?
We drank your liquor.
That wasn't liquor. That was cold tea.
Drive us anywhere, any place.
I mean, whatever happened to rolling pins? The boys always seem to wind up with women touting shotguns. Oh, what happened? A lot of people's favorite movie depicting Stan and Ollie versus the wives is Sons of the Desert.
Do you all solemnly swear to be present at our 87th annual convention at Chicago?
I do. Me too.
Wholeheartedly unanimous.
We are the sons of the desert, having the time of our life, marching along 2,000 strong, far from our sweethearts and wives, God bless them. Tramp, 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 the boys are marching, and dancing to this melody. Sons of the desert are we.
Why didn't you want to take the oath?
I was afraid.
Afraid of what?
Well, I was afraid if I took the oath to go to the convention that maybe my wife wouldn't let me go.
Of course she'll let you go. Why, she'll have to let you go. You took an oath.
I know, that's what I'm worrying about. The exhausted ruler said that if you took an oath that it would have to be broken for the generations of centuries of hundreds of years. And my wife would let...
Do you have to ask your wife everything?
Well, if I didn't ask her, I wouldn't know what she wanted me to do. I didn't want to...
I never realized that such a deplorable condition existed in your home. Why don't you pattern your life after mine? I go places and do things and then tell my wife. Every man should be the king in his own castle. What's that for?
Just this. You're not going.
What do you mean I'm not going?
You'll go to the convention over my dead body. I'll put you in jail first. And you too, with the rest of the sons of the... Oh, the sons of the desert.
No, wait a minute. You're gonna spoil my...
Where'd you get those eyes and the dark complexion? I just idolize.
Hey, what's the laugh? I don't get it. Shall we tell him? Our wives think that we're in Honolulu for my health. You're pulling a fast one, huh?
When you start to dance, you hula hips and prance, then you shake it up and down. You shake a little here, you shake a little there. When you got the boys going to town, Honolulu, baby, you know your stuff. Honolulu, baby, gonna want your love.
They're so stupid that we laugh at them from outside because we're not that stupid. And the wives, and we'll go to the convention, and no one will be the wiser.
I can't believe it. Just wait till you get back home, you inflated tadpole.
Sit down.
Oh, shut up, slobby. Oh, so Stan wouldn't dare lie to you. Huh? Don't you worry about him. All your fault. Quiet. Get home. Oliver.
What, sugar?
Oliver, I want you to be big. Bigger than you've ever been before. Are you telling me the truth?
What do you mean, am I telling you the truth? Do you think that a story like that could come from my mind if it wasn't the truth?
Stanley.
What?
Stanley. Honest confession is good for the soul. Is Oliver telling the truth?
Go ahead and tell her.
Is he?
No, we went to the convention. We didn't go to Honolulu at all. He told me to tell you he was sick and we didn't have any shipwreck. We were up in the attic and up and up, right up on. I think we sat up in the attic. He told me to tell you.
Come on, Stanley.
Oh, look what you got on you. Oh, you got
You're not moving out tonight, are you, sugar? Why don't you wait until tomorrow morning so we can talk it over?
See, Stanley? Honesty is the best policy. Son of the desert. Go to a convention, will you? Ha! Ha!
One of the things I love about the boys is when they go on a wild adventure, they take you with them. They're just a couple of regular guys who keep winding up in the most outrageous situations, like when they went to Oxford, pip pip cheerio, and all that sort of rot. Or like when they were in the army.
Give him hell! Get it, like...
What's going on? Been a raid.
Send over a raiding party right away and get a prisoner.
Yes, sir. Well, who wants to go?
I'll take a chance, Sergeant.
Never mind. Congratulations, boys. That's the spirit. Come on, get going. That's it. Come on, let's go. Come on, never mind.
You don't give me a chance to...
Come on, get on. Come on, you two. Come on, let's go. Get out of here. Come on, get on. That's the stuff. And don't come back without a prisoner. Corporal, get 2 replacements. I think we'll need them.
Quick, let's get in here. We'll be out of danger.
Going to college with Stan and Ollie can turn out to be very educational.
I wonder what this is all about.
That's the students' chant of revenge, sir. Evidently some gentleman has violated the ethics of the student body. And when that happens, they're never satisfied until they've hounded the guilty one out of Oxford.
We'll cut their throats and take out their...
The chump at Oxford is marvelous, where Stan Laurel, as I said before, becomes a straight actor. He gets hit on the head, he reverts to Sir Lord so-and-so, who is a graduate of Oxford, and plays it beautifully as an English gentleman. And people who hadn't seen Stan Laurel in that role said, my God, he's a fine actor. And then they reverse the roles, and he comes back to his original self.
3, 5, 4...
Look, they're pointing at us.
Don't worry, it's another rib. Oh, no, sir. They never jest in a case like this.
Them back where they came from. 3, 5, 4, from...
Listen, chaps. We'll go up and make them jump out of the window. If they won't jump, we'll take off their breeches and throw them out.
Here, cut the blanket, chaps.
They mean us all right. What are we going to do? We'd better get out of here.
We want the blood of an American. Be he alive or be he dead.
Where can we hide? Climb out the window so along the lace into the next study and make your escape from there.
Say, Ollie, what have we got to do about the trunk? Never mind the trunk.
And stones will break their...
Good gracious, Meredith, why don't you fix that window? Hit me right on the cranium.
Your lordship, you've got your memory back. You know me.
What on earth are you talking about? Of course I know you. Where's my tea and crumpets? Hurry.
Oh, it's a miracle. A miracle.
Are you Barney? See who that is.
Yes.
Stop annoying me.
Yes, my lord.
Must be losing his memory. Silly old bounder.
There's one of them.
What is the meaning of this vulgar intrusion?
You know what we mean. We're going to take off your breeches and run you out of Oxford.
Meredith, hold my handkerchief.
Yes, my lord.
Now, I demand an immediate apology.
An apology? I'll give you an apology.
they were funny. Just walking into a room, appearing on the screen, they were funny. So it didn't matter to me whether they were at Oxford University in England, or in the French Foreign Legion in the Sahara Desert, supposedly, or in the Northwoods, wherever they were, it didn't matter.
The Foreign Legion turns the bumbling recruits into fierce desert warriors.
Hey! What have you got your hat turned like that for?
Keeps the sun out of the eyes. Try it. It's great.
That's a great idea.
Use the hand grenades. It's our only chance.
You've got to laugh in every one of them. Not because they are basically intrinsically funny, but what else are you going to do with a thing like that? I mean, it's just to laugh at.
Pardon me. Come, Agnes. Yes.
Come on, boys, in here. What's wrong here? There's burglars in this house and they're in there. Burglars? Yes. Let's go, men.
They were making pictures at Metro. And if Metro made a picture like The Big House with Wallace Beery and Chester Morris, as soon as they cleared out of there, Stan and Ollie would come in and make a prison picture.
When they wind up in prison for selling beer during Prohibition, a troublesome tooth gives the boys a chance to make new friends.
Hello, Squirt.
Hello.
All right, inside. Come on, inside. I said hello, Squirt.
Hello.
I'm sorry, sir, but that was as you see.
Shut up! What are you doing there? Keep off of my head!
Pardon me, I'm a stranger here.
Put her there. You're the first guy that ever had the nerve to raspberry the tiger. I like a guy that does that. What are you in for?
We're a couple of beer barons.
Pain was part of their lives, and it's beautifully presented in Laurel and Hardy. It's just like, boom, that hit me, I'll hit you back, and I don't know. And then it's gone. It's not a big thing.
Stan and Ollie's adventures take them from way out in the desert to way out west, where they try to get back a deed to a gold mine that they delivered to the wrong girl. Making movie comedies is a crazy business. You dress up in funny clothes and you pretend to be a lot of different people. Stan and Ollie played cops, robbers, adventurers, businessmen, workmen of every kind. They even played their own children, each other's wives as well as each other. Talk about the odd couple. Take a delicious look.
Fanny,
What?
would you go into the kitchen and get me some horse's radish?
You go get it yourself. Horse's radish.
What's wrong with that? Why don't you leave him alone? You're always picking on him. Pick, 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 pick.
You keep your big mouth out of this.
Did you hear what she said? I haven't got a big mouth, have I? If I wasn't a perfect lady, I'd bust you in the nose.
Cut that out. And you too.
You get that honey out of here.
Don't call me a honey.
Sit down.
I'm not a hussy, am I?
No.
Get that dame out of my house before I go nuts.
Tisn't your house.
Tis my house.
Tisn't. Tisn't.
Come on and let's get out of here and go somewhere where we can eat in peace.
That's a splendid idea. Get out of here and stay out and don't come back.
I'll come back if I want to.
No, you won't.
I will too. Taco, 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 taco.
Come on and let's get out of here. Come on.
Come, Ollie dear. Let's go to the ambassador, where we can get something good to eat.
I hope you choke.
The same to you, you big cup.
Go.
Ignore them.
Does Mrs. Laurel live here?
Yes?
Here's the cake she ordered this morning. Will you see that she gets it?
I certainly will. The man said to be sure that you got this.
Thank you.
Come, Ollie.
And I remember when they were kids, with babies, and they're in the cribs and the giant furniture, all of that stuff. I mean, they really tried a lot of things, a lot of innovative character things, and they. I don't know whether they were aware of really what they were investigating, but they sure were investigating, and it was great.
How would you like to babysit for yourself? In Bratz, Stan and Ollie spend a nice quiet evening at home with the little boys.
That's enough. Get to bed.
Kramer, will you stop throwing things?
Oh! If you brats don't get to bed, I'll break your necks.
Don't talk to them like that. Treat them with kindness. You'll get more out of them. Remember the old adage. You can lead a horse to water, but a pencil must be lead.
I guess you are right. Now listen. The first one undressed and to bed gets that nickel.
See what a little bit of kindness will do?
You're right. A little kindness goes a long way.
You know, Laurel and Hardy could have billed themselves the odd couple. And that would have been perfect.
Mr. Laurel, I regret to inform you that Mr. Hardy's had a relapse, and I find it necessary to give him a blood transfusion. Now, Mr. Hardy has suggested that you, being his best friend, would be pleased to let us take the blood from you.
How do you mean?
Oh, it's simple. We take some of your blood and transfer it to Mr. Hardy to give him strength and make him well.
What do you think I am, a bloodworm?
Nurse?
Yes, sir.
Take Mr. Laurel upstairs. Prepare him for the operation.
Yes, sir.
Now, wait a
Right
minute.
this way, Mr. Laurel.
Do I have to take my hat off?
The boys got to know each other inside out. Can you imagine what it would be like if Stan played Ollie and Ollie played Stan?
Mr. Laurel is passed out, sir. I'm afraid we've taken too much of his blood.
Well, reverse the operation. Take some blood from Mr. Hardy and give it to Mr. Laurel.
But that'll get them all mixed up, sir.
What difference does it make? Do as I tell you.
Yes, sir.
Come on. Well, here's another nice mess you've gotten me into.
Well, I couldn't help the doctor let me upstairs to get a blood transfusion. I look like you now, and you look like me, and I don't want to do it, Governor.
Shut up and come on.
Oh, goodbye, Mr. Hardy.
Goodbye.
And goodbye, Mr. Laurel.
Goodbye, my dear madam.
Wait a minute, I forgot something.
Above all, Laurel and Hardy were buddies with a capital B. For better or worse, through good times and bad, they stuck together. They banged each other around. They drove each other crazy. But their friendship gives their art an emotional depth that few comedy teams achieve. Laurel and Hardy.
Now let's get this place cleaned up.
Morning, sweetheart.
Don't good morning me. Where were you last night?
Stan took me to see a Punch and Judy show.
I'm getting sick and tired of this. It's Stan here, Stan there. Stan wants me to go here, Stan wants me to go there. I tell you, it's beginning to get on my nerves. Why, you ought to be ashamed to even be seen on the street with him. When I tell you I understand... Well, why don't you answer the telephone?
All right. Hello?
That you, Ollie?
Yes?
Say, listen, I just got a couple of tickets for tonight for the Cement Workers Bazaar. Can you come along? We might win a prize. They're going to give away a steam shovel.
Yes, Mr. Jones. Thank you very much, Mr. Jones. I certainly appreciate it. Goodbye, Mr. Jones.
Who was that?
That was Mr. Jones, my new boss.
Oh.
He's having a big business meeting tonight, and he wants me to attend.
Oliver.
All of the out-of-town boys are going to be there. Big, influential men.
Oh. At last you're beginning to get someplace now. Come in. What do you want?
I just came to tell Ollie that was me on the phone.
Mr. Jones,
Well,
huh?
now, if you'll just
A
wait.
big
Oh,
business
now, wait,
man,
honey,
huh?
darling, now, wait.
Mr. Jones, huh?
Oh, no,
Mr.
wait a minute, honey.
Jones, huh?
No, wait, oh.
Yes, wait.
Did you ask her about going out tonight? What'd she say?
You heard what she said.
Well, what's the matter with her anyway?
Oh, I don't know. She says that I think more of you than I do of her.
Well, you do, don't you?
Well, we won't go into that.
And I think the reason that people like Laurel and Hardy so much is that you found this bond of affection. Even though they were constantly putting on each other, they gave as good as they take. If he was bad with Stan, Stan got back to him. But with all of that, you knew that there was a genuine, almost love affair between these two people.
By the way, Fatty, I've noticed lately that you're getting terribly sloven.
How do you mean, sir?
Well, you don't seem to have the dignity becoming of a lackey. No poise. You don't walk right or something. Let me see. Pull in your stomach. That's better now. Now throw your shoulders back. That's right. Now chin up. Chin up. No. Both of them. Both. There, that's better now. Now walk around. Let me see you. Now step into it. Make it brisker. Brisker. Now chins up. Chin. Now look what you've done, clumsy.
Listen, I've had enough of this. Why, I knew you and I had more brains in my little finger than you had in your whole carcass, even with your overcoat on.
You're a witty old stick in the mud, aren't you, Fatty?
You bet I am, and don't call me Fatty.
No, don't get excited, old dear.
Who's excited? I'm through. You can take your lordships, your Oxford, and your Paddingtons, and do what you like with them.
Why,
I've never been so humiliated in all my
really
life.
trying to help you out, really, old dear. No thing intentional, really.
And there's one more thing, too. I didn't like that double chin crack.
Well, that's you. My goodness, what a step on.
Which nobody does deny. And I'm not so humiliated, embarrassed in all my life. I'm going to get my clothes and get out of here and catch the first boat back. And send it on every hand. And another thing. Can fight no more, get another boy. Goodbye.
Hey, Ollie.
What?
Where you going?
Back to America for me.
Hey, Ollie. Ollie. What you going to say to me?
Stan, you know me.
Well, of course I know you. What's the matter? Have you got one of those dizzy spells?
A lot of thematic material in their films which indicates this buddy, this even if unspoken, devotion to one another, even if it's spoken sometimes with a smack, or they are just inexorably with one another.
Come in.
How do you feel? Fine. I didn't expect to see you here today.
Well, I didn't have anything else to do, so I thought I'd drop in and see you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. And how is my little patient today?
How long do you think I'll be in here, Doctor?
Oh, at least a couple of months.
Gee, that's great.
This is the first time in my life I've had such a wonderful rest.
There would be no way that these two characters could get along in the world away from each other. They just depend on each other. It is a true symbiotic relationship. Take one away from the other dies. And that, when I realized that for the first time, that created a really big smile.
This is the straw that broke the camel's back. What's the matter? What's the matter? Why, you are the cause of me being in this deplorable condition. You've held me back for years, and I'm sick of it. Here's a letter for you.
This is to inform you that you are the sole heir to your uncle's fortune, providing you sever all connections with Oliver Hardy, whom your uncle felt is responsible for your deplorable condition. Encloses a check for $1,000.
Let me see that letter. I will not. Why? It's private. Oh. Well, if you feel that way about it, never bring up the matter again. It's private. Well, if it's private, it's private. Thank goodness it's not my nature to hold out anything on a pal. That's one thing they can never say about me, that I ever held anything private from a friend.
It's very painful to watch one say, I don't want to be your friend. I mean, because they somehow established that, like almost everything else they did, in a seamless way, so you didn't really think of it. But then when they said, no, let's not be together, it was kind of unthinkable.
What? Me read your letter? I should say not. But darling, don't coax me. No Hardy would ever read anyone's personal, private mail. Absolutely not. All right. Give me that letter. Oh. Holding out on me, huh? 'Twas ever thus. Now I know why you didn't want me to read it. I'm sorry for everything I said. And I thought all the time it was you holding me back. Isn't it funny? We never see ourselves as others see us. Well, you better be going. What's going to become of you? Oh, don't worry about me. I'll be all right. Goodbye. Bye. And good luck.
My pal. And to think you're giving it all up for me.
For you? I didn't want to leave Laughing Gravy.
When Oliver Norval Hardy died in the hospital in 1957, Stan Laurel was holding his hand. And for the first time, Stan cried tears which were not intended to make people laugh. Stan went on writing Laurel and Hardy sketches for years, but he never again appeared on the screen because he felt that without Oliver Hardy, Stan Laurel was only a small part of his former self.
Commence to dancing, commence to prancing, commence to dancing, right to left to glancing, commence to dancing, slide, glide, prancing, you do the tango jiggle, the dances calmly wiggle, the order and the home, sliding and forward, and forward, work your shoulders and your fingers on them all, in the hall, left the ball, and so. Commence to dancing, commence to prancing, commence to dancing.